Yo, what's up, Fight or Flight family? I'm your man 3D. I'm in the house with my man Captain J,
Salute, brother.
and we are here to recap the events of UFC 254. An amazing card. Thank you, Uncle Dana, for putting on such an amazing card. Everybody came through and performed, including our top billing, Khabib and Justin Gaethje. Well, more so Khabib than Justin, but we'll get into that. So, Captain J, how you feeling after UFC 254?
Man, I feel like we just watched one of the dopest walk-offs in the history of walking off. You know what I mean? I was pretty impressed with Khabib. That story is still kind of unraveling with the broken foot, his father passing away, submitting the dude who they said was the biggest threat to him fighting style wise. Like he just kind of shut all that down, walked off, top dog, and there's really not a whole lot of stuff to argue about. You just have to like tip your hat, like well played, young man.
Yeah,
Like
he definitely took a page out of Babe Ruth's. He called his shot. He said on ESPN he was going to choke the man out, and in the second round he ended up choking the man out like he said he was going to. He made light work of Justin Gaethje. I mean, we both agreed that we knew that Khabib was going to put on a dominating performance. I believe we both felt that way going into UFC 254. But man, did he outstruck Justin, took him down, threatened him with submissions twice, and in the second time actually finished him. I called it for the third round, but Khabib said, nope, you're wrong. I'm going to make it an early night. I don't get paid by the hour, and he got him out of there in 2.
That's why I said light work, bro.
Man.
They tried to say that, Justin Gaethje, they tried to build this up as the Rocky USA versus Russia in the middle of the desert, Fight Island. Like this was movie script-esque, but the Russian let him know that, this isn't Hollywood, my friend. Yeah. This is the real deal. Yeah. And, I'm really fighting for real reasons out here. You know what I mean? And I'm representing to the fullest. And I think he really gave John Jones a run for his money. Like John Jones is still fighting, so his legacy is TBD still. This is it for Khabib. Because, if John Jones goes on to win the heavyweight title and goes on for another 5-6 year run as the champion there, I love you, Khabib. That was amazing, and it can't take away from the way you walked away from the sport. But to say that you're better than this dude, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
But as it sits right now, I can comfortably say that. I can say Khabib is the man comfortably after how dominating he's been. And it hasn't been necessarily boring. I guess it's cool to know that this dude has one move. He's coming in. It's not really one move. They act like he don't have hands. He dropped some people. You know what I mean? He dropped Connor. Connor was probably the biggest threat to me, to him, in a weird way, because that left hand is sneaky. Connor's caught everybody with it, and it was just, to me, a matter of time. Khabib, can you either take it or you don't? And Khabib took it. He caught it. Khabib, he got hit a couple times, and he took it like a champ.
Yeah.
But he flipped it and he dropped Connor. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what makes him so iconic. Like, these dudes that they say, he's going to knock him out or he's going to be so great off the ground. Khabib's like, cut it out, man. Well, I'm going to finish you in 2 rounds. Like, what kind of respect? That's no respect.
I get the hype. And yes, he did do one of, like you said, one of the greatest walk-offs in sports history. The man is undefeated, 29-0, and he put on a master class performance. But is he the man? Yes, he's had some notable, credible opponents in his last probably 4 or 5 fights. And after winning the title, he was able to finish those, next 3 opponents, Connor, Dustin, and Justin Gaethje. But I feel like at the same time, we can't sleep on John. John has put in a lot of work. And yes, he has that little blemish on his record with Matt Hamill. But we all know the truth.
That's not the blemish.
We all know the truth that he's truly undefeated, just as much as Khabib is. Okay, and on top of that, John, we could say, has fought more notable opponents.
This is the difference. Yo, that's not alleged by any means. That's not alleged by any means.
A piece of a grain of salt. Okay, I'm not holding that against John. That he had I'm
holding it against
minuscule, trace amounts of some whatever.
How do we know, bro? The plot thickens now that Izzy has got him to confess this dude is hiding underneath the ring. Is he really hiding because he smoked weed, or was his picograms at an all-time high?
Exactly, because John wanted to be this Khabib-esque type athlete, right? I am not going to sit here and act like Khabib. I'm so, okay. And I know I might get some slack for this, but let's look at the facts. Khabib is up there with your Muhammad Ali type esque, level of notoriety.
He's worldwide.
People love him in that regard. Okay, he's a man of peace, a man of faith, and a man of principle. Okay,
a man of smash you, brother.
And with that, and with all of that, that's what John wanted to be. With his Christian talk, you know what I'm saying? His Bible talk and all that stuff. John wanted to be on the level of Khabib, but cocaine, hookers, and picograms got in the way. So, but
I was gonna say he sounds like he is, but I'm not gonna finish the sentence. You know what I'm saying? Hey, see the deacon at
in the cage. John is still pound for pound number. See, when we talk about pound for pound, right? Pound for pound means that your skills would make you dominant in any weight class. That's pound for me. That's what pound for pound means.
For sure, that's how I always teeter towards the big guys. Not that David beat Goliath whatsoever, but that story is so rare. That's why it's such a big story.
Let's factor in the fact that John has the wrestling. Has fucking the most brutal ground and pound you ever seen in UFC.
Shout out to he can out of our backyard out here in Oregon. John Jones beat Dan Henderson. Submission underground 2.
Yeah,
showing his ground game.
So I'm just saying, hey,
he's not ready for Khabib, man. Let's stop.
Bro, come on, man. He has to stand up and the ground. Khabib is the master on the ground, and no hands down. The man is the master on the ground. But like I said during the broadcast, his defense is atrocious. It is the most ugliest, nastiest defense I've ever seen. And I've been seeing people say he's the most well-rounded UFC fighter. That's not true. I'm sorry. I love Khabib. Props to his career. That was an amazing career. Congratulations to him and his family and his team. But he is not the most complete fighter.
Oh, we know he's
not the most complete fighter in the world.
Well-rounded. No, you got to have all the tools.
Right.
It's just not well-rounded when we know how every fight's going to end for Khabib. He's going to take you down. He's going to smash you. There's nothing well-rounded about that.
Right.
Besides, he's well around your legs and your arms.
Exactly.
Have you smothered.
Exactly.
He's well-rounded there. But as far as I think he showed that off, though. I think he was trying to let people know that he is on top of his game by throwing that submission out there to this all-American wrestler. We gotta come on. Like we said, even Gaethje and his trainer, Trevor Whitman, were trying to sell it and be like, we haven't had to show our greatest skill set yet. No, this is a use it or use it type situation, man. You could have been a great wrestler 10 years ago, but we ain't seen you wrestle for 10 years. So you're not going to be as good as you were when you were an All-American. You're no longer that All-American. You're a great wrestler, but you're no longer that All-American wrestler. Right. It's in there somewhere, but it's not there today when you need it. And Khabib, he exposed him. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's why Khabib is the man. Habib is the man. Because every dude they throw out here, they try to what's Ferguson's the next guy he hasn't beat because he has world-class jiu-jitsu. All these guys are world-class. This fool, Habib, is universal class. He's just one above. You could be world class, but he's just one above you.
That's the one that got away from us, though. We have to keep that in perspective. Yes, with what you were played, I look at it like almost like a Roy Jones. We said Roy Jones didn't have no competition, right? Because he was so dominant. Well, let's just pull the brakes back on this Khabib Ferguson thing because we never got to see that fight happen. Either Ferguson couldn't make weight, injuries, Khabib couldn't make weight, injuries. Look, but yeah, you're right. Wasn't meant to be. But if we go down fantasy lane, that was the most intriguing fight, not because of Tony's striking ability, but his jujitsu. His jujitsu coming from 10th Planet under Eddie Bravo. And then, he had that slick jujitsu, those chokes. We wanted to see if Khabib could withstand that type of groundwork with somebody who was a threat off their back, because we knew that that's where Tony was going to end up, on his back. So, but we want to see if Khabib would be able to handle somebody who would be trying to hurt him from his back with elbows and threatening with submissions. But we didn't see that. We don't know.
We're not going to see it, and nor do I care to see it anymore.
I know 6 times is not a charm. 3 times was a charm.
It wasn't. It probably would have been embarrassing. I really don't even know if GSP. He's not cutting down to face that, but GSP, we've never seen him off his back either, and I don't think it's going to be such a good look. All these dudes talking about All-American Wrestling. Who was it? Costa that came out and tried to flex his black belt in jiu-jitsu against Izzy. You've seen how that turned out for him, right? So stop flexing with these tools in your tool belt if you ain't really using them. You know what I mean? These little feathers in your cap, they get plucked real fast if you don't know how to use them. And Ferguson, his stuff is just scrambling. He's going to get taken down. He can't stop Khabib's takedown. And Khabib is just going to run him over.
Well, we knew he was going to get taken down. He was going to get taken down.
Without a doubt.
But what could he have slipped on a choke of some sort?
Man, that's very desperate thinking. You know what I mean? Like, that's a Hail Mary. Like, okay, you're right. Like, that could happen just because hypothetically there is a chance.
But that's his game. That's his game. No, a dart choke.
No.
Triangle choke.
No.
That's how he beat Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee took him down too and was ground and pounding him, and then he caught him with a triangle.
Kevin Lee with staph infection took him down with ease, and if he didn't have staph and gas out, I don't know if Tony Ferguson gets up from being on the bottom with that world-class jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? He was almost finished and never even a title holder. That fight was a lot closer than it ever should have been. And I think that says a lot to Khabib's case of there's levels to this, because nobody's shown that they're even in Khabib's class. Like, Ferguson, he's looked like this zombie where, like, you just got to beat him, but people have put some licks on him. He walks around, hands up. He's taken some licks and he's had some wobbled knees. But I mean, out of Khabib's career, how many rounds has he lost? Not just fights, none, but he's very lost any rounds, period. 1 round in your whole career? Damn!
To Connor. I just want to say to Connor.
It's okay. It doesn't. Khabib choked him out exactly like he said. He finished the fight. He didn't take the Mayweather, I'm going to try to sell for a part 2. No, he went out as the dominant champ and choked him out. And then he jumped over and he was about to smash his whole crew. That's how serious it became. Khabib is not one to be played with. This dude is true to the game. And he's about the utmost respect. And Conor, he might have fought Conor again just because it's so big, but he has no respect for Conor. He would never fight Conor again. He already proved his point. What does he have to prove? You can't.
He doesn't have anything to prove.
You can't beat him.
That would simply just be cementing and stamping that Connor's not on his level, and that would be also just giving Connor the opportunity to beat him. So why do that? I understand. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But I already told you on the prediction show, Khabib didn't want no part of that because he's not mentally able to do a verbal jousting with Conor McGregor. That bothers him.
He's not able. He just ain't trying to deal with it. Connor
it takes him to a place that he's not comfortable with. I feel like
when he gets in the octagon, he's very comfortable. That's where that person comes out. That's where that dude is hiding. You don't want to find him. It's a whole nother level. So with that said, though, after paying homage to Khabib and his greatness, let's answer the question when we come back. But first, I want you guys to check out Flight Lounge merch coming soon. Make sure to check us out.
Chillin', laying in the cut though, easy. Trying to see what up though, Brooklyn, home of the cutthroats, notorious. Y'all know how the rest go sleeping. One eye open, too smart 'cause I'm always scoping, watching, seeing.
Again, Flight Lounge, Portland's premier. Well, we're not even going to stay small time. West Coast premier cannabis social lounge. Make sure you guys check it out at flightlounge.biz. The real question now, though, who gets Khabib's belt next?
I think that's an easy answer, bro. The Irishman is coming back to reclaim what was that he vacated and that was ultimately taken from him when he got choked out in the 4th round. But he's going to come back. Come on, bro. We already seen if Justin Gaethje is wobbling you, Ferguson, there's no chance you taking that left hand from Conor. Okay. And if Justin Gaethje, I think he could take a little bit of an ass whooping. It might take him 2 or 3 rounds to actually go unconscious, but I think Conor slips a quick one in there on his ass too. And we've already seen what he did to Dustin Poirier. So I'm just like, we know.
Is it too soon? So is it too soon to say that should be an interim fight? Conor versus Poirier should be for the interim belt if indeed Khabib is retired?
I don't think it should be an interim title. I feel like if Khabib retired, then it should be for the vacant title. Undisputed.
It's interim because this man, we don't really know if he's really retired.
Well,
I mean, he says he's retired, but let's give him a little bit of time, man.
That's
what this emotional roller coaster. You know, he's teammates with DC who didn't know how to retire properly, so maybe it's in the water over there. And
I get that we have some hope to see these big matchups, you know, between Khabib and GSP or Khabib and Conor one more time. But I feel like Khabib is a man of his word, and he promised his mother. And that's the only living parent that he has left. And I feel like, you know, a man like Khabib is already a man of his word. So promising your mother that you're done competing, that's really big for somebody from, you know, like Khabib. And then on top of that, we got to factor in, you know, like you said,
moms, no matter where they at, Russia, America, they do like that cheese though. A fight, a mega fight with 2 world superstars, as in AKA Jean-Claude Van Damme, AKA GSP versus Khabib, has global appeal.
Yeah.
Could be the biggest fight ever go down, and that's a truly Legends games where the 2 dudes go out on top. GSP's coming back after winning the 185 belt. Khabib walked off with the 155 belt. So this isn't like some heroes fight that they're coming back. No, they walked off the best and they're going to come back as the best. And we really get to see pound for pound, because this Khabib versus GSP, this is where John Jones can get really just X'd out of the conversation, depending on how that fight played out. And if one of them was superior dominant than the other, it kind of changes the narrative to that GOAT.
I agree. Because you got to understand that we're talking about the top 3 fighters in the history of the sport. But with that, man, I don't know, man, because Look, if Khabib fights GSP, are they gonna fight at 155? And if they do,
no.
So if they don't fight at 155, why not? He's already vacated the title. That's vacating the title. So that means that those other guys that I named would be up next for fighting for a vacant title, not an interim. And then on top of that, we gotta look back at Figueroa Davison, and his name. I'm sorry, Figueroa Davison. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if I'm trashing your name, bro. Mr. Davison, down at flyweight. Mr. Davison down at flyweight when Cejudo gave up the title. The next fight was for the vacant flyweight title. So I don't see why, and he's still walking around with 2 belts talking shit. And it's like, bro, you retired. We're done with you. Okay.
He wasn't retired. That was a ploy. And we knew it. That came out of nowhere. This with Khabib is a emotional response. Like, we don't know how he's going to feel a year from now. You know what I mean? Even his mom, she could change. Like, his mom might be sitting around and start reading all these articles about how great her son is and all these questions. And she's looking at him and might be asking him, like, hey, do you still want to do this? They did say 30-0 was always their goal. And it's not like he has to fight 5 more fights to get this. This is literally 1 more. And if you're going to come back for 1 more, it couldn't be any bigger than fighting a guy like GSP. And on top of just being GSP is a very humble champion within himself. And I think he has a lot of respect for GSP because they very similarly are soft, off-spoken guys outside of the octagon. They'll come inside and kick your ass, and outside they'll be very soft-spoken, humble guys.
This would be the premier handshaking, gentleman sportsmanship award-winning fight that you'd ever see in your life, because these 2 guys are just 2 of the biggest slices of humble pie ever that's ever been in sports. And so they would come in bowing and shaking each other's hands and hugging during the rounds and all that shit. But I feel like they both extremely would love to compete against each other. But yeah, like I said, if they fight, their fight's probably most likely going to take place at 160, 165 pounds. And if that's the case, then, GSP is
165 for sure. It starts off the division. It doesn't hurt the UFC because it's not for a belt, so they're not going to start some stuff that they can't finish, but it's the jump off for this weight division. And this is really a real pound for pound fight that doesn't disrupt what's going on as far as business. That's why they've kind of said they wanted to keep GSP out, and they didn't want this Khabib fight because they didn't want this fool to win the belt and walk off, and Khabib is still fighting, but he can never get that redemption back. Right. So they've stopped it. Khabib, what if he goes and he fights and he loses GSP? You think he's going to just quit on a loss also? You think he's just going to 29-1 and be like, no, that's not how this is supposed to go. Yeah,
that's how it would go. Because GSP would be him, bro. That he's smart to take it now. 29-0, pound for pound, best lightweight, greatest lightweight champion of all time. Greatest lightweight champion of all time. Nobody can argue with that. That's not up for debate at all. You know what I'm saying? Greatest of all time, we can debate. But greatest lightweight of all time, we cannot debate. Okay? So with that being said, I think his best bet is just to go ahead and sit his ass down. Because if he does not sit down and he comes back talking for GSP, GSP has been training and waiting for this and just being, like I just said, humble pie as can be. Oh, congratulations, Khabib. Because to be real, if we're gonna say greatest of all time and put him on the spectrum of pound for pound, he just took GSP's spot at number 2. That's what he just did. He didn't take.
You don't think using steroids, like steroids in baseball and other sports is one thing, but when it comes to fighting, you can't be on the juice, bro. Like, that's a no. Like, I agree. This is hand-to-hand combat. This ain't me trying to throw a fastball a couple miles faster. Like, This is me throwing a fastball at your face a couple miles faster. This can cause permanent damage.
I agree.
To somebody else, not yourself.
I agree.
So I agree that John Jones used to be the undisputed GOAT without a doubt. But when you start, I don't even care about the outside the octagon stuff. People will factor that in, but I'm just focused on his career. That's not part of it. Nobody's perfect in that sense. But the picograms, I can't skip over the performance enhancers. That is a no-no.
Bro.
That is, bro, I grew up with Alex Rodriguez is like an idol for me. I was like 13 years old. I went to Seattle. I was up in the Kingdom. I seen this 18-year-old kid had olive skin complexion like me playing on the AstroTurf at the Kingdom. And I was like an 18-year-old kid from Miami. Like, shit, I could do this. He was that good that he was 18 in the pros, already killing. Why you have to do the juice? Why do you have to do the juice?
Because you get around other motherfuckers close to your age just way better than you.
No, they wasn't better than A-Rod.
But, I mean, come on, bro. We live in a dog-eat-dog world. Let's keep it 1,000. I don't think John Jones, and he was been proven to not intentionally take steroids. This man is an athlete. People come to him all the time.
His
to promote.
See, this is what's happened though. His character now is in question because of all the questionable stuff he's done outside the octagon. Like, you can't just hit a pregnant woman and run, bro. If you were smoking weed, just get your ticket. You know what I'm saying? I understand being a black man in America could be scary, but you running like a fugitive through New Mexico streets, it doesn't sound like a better option than just standing there and facing what you did. Like, bro, an accident happens. Car accident.
I don't agree with that either. I don't agree with that either. And I'm with you 1,000%. But I try to focus on in the cage.
No, I'm saying that I don't care if he did that. I'm just saying his he could say that he didn't know that his stuff was tainted, but bro, I have to question you. You're facing this dude, Daniel Cormier, who, even though you've beat him, you know he's on your level. And that's the thing. You've beaten all these dudes very easy, didn't need it. Then you finally get to this point in your career where you find this dude who can match up with you. You still have the physical advantage on this dude, but you need a little bit more.
See, that makes sense. Does that make sense what you just said? Yes. That don't make no sense. If I know I've beat you before, right? I've beaten you before. I have all the physical advantages. I have the length. I kick. I wrestle. Daniel Cormier is a wrestler with boxing. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, why would John need steroids to beat Daniel Cormier? And I'm a Daniel Cormier fan. I'm a fan of DC. But I'm just saying, I always knew when it came to those two, the great big man usually beats the great smaller man. That's just how it goes.
But DC was the bigger man. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, even though John Jones DC is cutting way more weight than John Jones is to get
a foot taller than him. He's a foot taller than him. His arms are longer than DC's legs.
Stephen Struve is the tallest fighter in UFC. You think he's the most undefeated, baddest dude out there? No. Height has nothing to do with it. That could be athleticism. That could be negated. Height could be negated. You're talking about DC, who's shown he flexed, went up to heavyweight. He has a win over the greatest heavyweight in UFC history. DC has shown he actually is the bigger man because he is a heavyweight fighter who was cutting down to 205. John was always in 205. That's been his weight class his whole career. The only reason DC was down there is because Cain Velasquez is his brother, and he didn't want to have to fight him for the belt. So as the shorter dude, being all 5'12", with his shoes on, he went down to 205 because there's no way Cain was cutting down to 205 at 6'5", 280. So DC had to go down, but DC is a heavyweight fighter. He was always going to be a heavyweight fighter. The only reason he wasn't is because out of his own gym, they already had a heavyweight champion he was training with.
I think DC in reality is a welterweight. To be real, he's just a fat welterweight. He couldn't lose. He couldn't lose those extra little pounds.
In here like Cannoneer, just chopped and chiseled one day.
Never. Now at this point, he's been eating. He's rich now. He's eating lobster steaks and all kind of Abu Dhabi cakes and pies. This motherfucker is not. Yeah, he's too fat now for that. And he's been a heavier guy most of his career. But DC is the type of body type that he should have been like a what's that guy's name? Paula Harris. Remember Paula Harris at welterweight? Solid, just jacked, fucking buff ass muscle. That he should have been lifting weights and getting bigger, but he just had the skills and liked to eat. He's from Louisiana. I'm sure he's eating all kind of sweet potato pies. Okay. That's why he just never reached his ultimate potential of getting down to 185, maybe even welterweight, because he's 5'10". He's 5'9". I'm 5'10", and I sit next to the man. I'm taller than him. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, I'm 5'10". So that means Daniel has to be like 5'9". You know what I'm saying? 5'9.5". You know what I'm saying? That man's small. So
size, he's powerful. I don't think he wrestled at 180 something. Like even Olympic wrestling, he was in the 200s. Yeah. Like this is what he does. He's not getting down there. Like
he's always been a chubby man.
Isn't for everybody. That's for people who is scared. They gotta get to the lower ranking. Like just man up, fight where you're at. You know what I mean? Like be you. Like you kinda, that's why I think guys like Paulo Costa, like, bro, you probably would be way more efficient at 205 than you are cut down to 185. You know what I mean? I would like to see him. I mentioned that in our group chat. I'd like to see him face like a Reyes in a bounce back fight for both these guys at 205. You know what I mean?
Ooh, that'd be good. That would be good. Be good.
I would like to see that matchup. You know, kind of a title contender eliminator situation. The winner stays up there at the top of the 205. The other guy is now a journeyman and gonna have to try to get in where he fits in and put a little winning streak together to get back in the conversation. Just so you guys know, this podcast is sponsored by Flight Lounge, the West Coast premier cannabis cafe, also by Golden Rose Film Productions. Check it out. Shout out to Golden Rose Films. They always do a great job. But where are we going next, man? Where are we going?
Well, we also had another big fight on the card with title picture implications between Robert Whittiker and the Killer Gorilla Cannoneer.
Yeah, but Bobby Knuckles is my dude. I'm one of his biggest fans, but he's on timeout. He did his job. He went and beat Till. He came beat Cannoneer. He beat 2 top 5 dudes. Mm-hmm. Now he just gets to sit pretty for a little bit, heal up, take his time, because those leg kicks that shut down Anderson Silva, he caught a couple of those ones from Cannoneer as well. I seen the marks on the leg. Mm-hmm. I know he's going to be in quarantine, enjoying sitting in the room for a little bit, not worried about walking. Right. But I don't think he if he fights Izzy and he loses again, then it just kind of puts him in no man's land. I think Izzy can go up and fight Jan for the 205 title, which is intriguing. Izzy has Bones Jones licking his chops for a fight. And I think to Whittaker's advantage is to let him go face one of those monsters, get in a little engagement, take a little bit of a beating, hopefully, and then try to catch Izzy on the rebound. No, seriously, you got to be strategic in how you look at these things, because it's like that's kind of how Izzy caught Whittaker. He coming off 2 of his toughest fights ever against Romero. You know what I mean? And coming back from surgery and all these things, he kind of caught him. Good timing for Izzy to catch Whittiker, not at his best. He's been out of the octagon. Like they say, octagon rest and all that. I guess it's case by case scenario, but he didn't come back into a normal situation. He came back fighting in front of his home fans, his home family, everybody there. So it's like all the pressure of being a champion and fighting for that. You're doing it in front of everybody at home.
Yeah.
Also, and it's the biggest card, the most fans ever to watch a UFC event live. What was it? Almost 60,000 people?
Yeah, almost 60,000.
Imagine that's 3 times their normal crowd. These crowds are already wild, and you're doing this is your home crowd too. So they are. I don't know if you've ever watched World Series of Poker when the Aussies are in there and they're like Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Brazilian, they're wild. So it's like fans, and you let them down fighting the dude from New Zealand. This is a turf battle here, man. So my advice to Robert Whittiker as your manager, Bobby Knuckles, this is what I want to see you enjoy the birth of your next kid, have some fun, heal up, take some time, craft a game plan for Izzy. Go back, study the Gastelman fight, and try to pick up some keys, because I kind of noticed Whittaker's fight. I was rewatching it today, and he kind of has that little kangaroo bounce to his fighting style. Like he's very bouncy. And if you watch Gastelman's fight, Gastelman is kind of bouncy like that because he's a shorter dude fighting some of these guys that are 6'4", 6'5". As a 5'9" guy, he has to kind of jump in to get in range and strike with them, but he has that little bounce.
Yeah,
I think that timing, and if Whittiker can craft a plan and take some time, the next 6 to 9 months to craft a plan specifically for Izzy, or you look at Izzy and be like, you know what? Standing and trading with him probably isn't in my favor. Maybe I need to look how to take this guy down and keep him on his back to where I can neutralize majority of his striking, to where I only have to worry about these elbows from the bottom. But Izzy hasn't shown any kind of ground game for me to fear yet. And he hasn't shown he can persevere off his back, because we haven't seen him put in that situation just yet. He doesn't have that pedigree coming from a kickboxing background, to where we don't really know what Izzy's ground game necessarily looks like.
Well, I would just have to throw in there, we have seen Izzy very defensive from takedowns against like Derek Brunson. A few takedowns he defended against Kevin Gastelum. Even Kevin Gastelum was able to get him down momentarily, I believe in second or third round. But he got back up, but he also threatened with submissions from his back. Now, have we seen him land any submissions? Have we seen him take anybody down? Have we seen his ground and pound like a John Jones? No, we have not. But I still feel like that's the safest place to try to beat Adesanya. Stand up with him a little bit, trade with him a little bit, get him thinking, but then still try to implement some type of ground attack. Because in my opinion, bro, I don't think Robert Whittiker is ready for Adesanya. That was a good performance against Till, and a good performance against Cannonier, but I think Cannonier didn't fight his best game plan. I feel like he came in with the wrong game plan for Robert Whittiker. Robert Whittiker is a fencer, like you said, blitz style, in and out, you know what I'm saying, more of a technician, and Cannonier tried to fight his fight. If Cannonier had came in and tried to fight more of the Cannonier, the killer gorilla that we've seen in the past, then if Robert was ready to weather that storm and overcome that and beat Cannonier with that type of attack coming at him, I would have been a little bit more impressed. But I feel like Robert Whittiker should, like you said, take this time with his family. He's got a new baby. Bask in that. Bask in these 2 big ass paychecks you just got from the Till fight and the Cannonier fight to close out the year, and go ahead and relax for a minute. And I would sit back and watch as much Adesanya film as possible, okay, and try to find the best route to get this guy. But it's hard to say that. It's hard to say that because Izzy wants to fight, and so who does he fight if Whittiker doesn't step in?
That's why I said, Whittiker, listen to me as your manager, Bobby Knuckles. This is our game plan, man. We're going to take a back seat. We put in our work. We got our 2 in for the Corona Funky 2020. We put in our work for the year. Now we get to sit back. Izzy wants to fight again. I'm not going to turn around and fight in December, especially not you. No, I need a little bit of time to get some shit together, especially when you've been off hanging out. Your last fight, you didn't even get injured in it or nothing. Besides, you had some picograms hanging out the side of your titty muscle. Different story. Maybe I would be sending USADA to his house. That would be the first I'd be as your manager. I'm going to call USADA and make sure they're over there in New Zealand testing out Izzy. But I would let Izzy go fight Jan for the belt, or I'd let Izzy, or I'd be like bumping John Jones. If I was Whittiker, I'd be like, man, I want to see that John Jones Izzy fight. I would be trying to push that and be like, as a big fan of the sport myself, I can see that one happen. I want to see 2 dudes that are amazing fight. You know what I'm saying? And let Izzy take some damage, and then no matter what, even if he goes in, I think he beats Jan, but I think he's going to take some damage in that fight. Let's see who we got. Some fans tuning in. What we say? I wouldn't stand with Izzy, period. I doubt we'll see him on the ground for any significant time in his career. Yeah, that's if fighters are stupid and want to stand with him when they know they shouldn't be. But I think there's going to be guys that will come after him.
Let's keep it in perspective, folks. Do you think John Jones is going to try to stand up and have some kind of kickboxing match with Izzy? I doubt it. He knows he's the better wrestler. He knows out of the 2, he's the Khabib. He knows he has the higher pedigree in wrestling, and if he gets him down to the ground, he can dominate him. He has the nastiest ground and pound in the sport's history. You know what I'm saying? So he's not going to stand up and try to – he might stand up a little bit with Izzy just to get close and close the distance, but once he closes the distance, John is diving for them legs. He's going to take Izzy down. He's going to try to man rape him. That's what's going to happen.
Let's be real, though. I mean, you're only like these hype machines because Izzy he was looking good, but you go real short flight back to that Gastelman fight. He was looking real human there. He was rocked. He was looking real human, and Gastelman has went on not to look so great in his last couple fights, looking real regular. So it's just stylistically, we'll see. But I think, like our user said, standing up with them is not really the game plan right now. And I think we're watching something similar that we've seen with Anderson Silva. But Anderson Silva, we knew, being Brazilian, had his jiu-jitsu game in his back pocket waiting for you. Right. That's not the case with Izzy, and I think that's what Costa was getting at with his little fake black belt. I don't know what. And this dude is just calling out, like, you can't call out winners when you're a loser.
Yeah, sign the contract. Sign the contract.
You can't call out Izzy. You just got smoked. You can't call out Whittiker. Whittiker's on a winning streak. Yeah. You're like on a losing streak. Yeah. Like, it just doesn't work like that, bro. So that's why I said, Costa, you need to call up Reyes, go to 205 and handle that. Or the other fight that I would like to see is Costa and Romero part 2, because I think that first one was a very great, entertaining fight, and it was kind of a toss-up. I would want to see that fight again and hope it wouldn't go to the judges so we can get a definite winner. That's just my opinion. But Bobby Knuckles, this is what we're going to do, my man. We're taking a break. We're hoping Izzy is going up the ladder and fighting a bigger dude and taking a beating before we get back in there with him. Whittiker, we're in the driver's seat. We don't have to fight anybody right now because we are the number 1 dude. And we'll just have to wait a little bit. And there's really not any threat behind Whittiker. What's the Hermanson? Who's he fighting next?
Hermanson is fighting.
I still don't have the answer for you, but
yeah,
it's a top 5 matchup.
I believe I thought he was scheduled to fight Daniel Till, but
it is Till. It is Till.
It is Till.
Yeah,
Till, but then I just saw Till was talking shit to Hazmat Chimaev, and
that's he thinks he's gonna get past Hermanson.
Why are you doing that to yourself, sir? Why are you doing that to yourself? You said you want to be champion.
Till's gonna win it. Till's gonna come. He's gonna be one of these dudes who's fighting often. He might not ever become a champion, but he'll be fighting often and he'll be entertaining. And really, this is the world of this is still entertainment. Having the belts and all that is great, but if you are an entertaining fighter, that's how Cowboy has been able to make a Hall of Fame career. Not because he's ever been champion of the UFC, just because he's known for exciting fights, and you love to see his name on the card, especially for pay-per-view. You're willing to pay for him to be on there.
True, but the thing about Cowboy is Cowboy finishes fights. When he wins, he finishes fights.
Oh, Darren Till good fights.
He ain't finished nobody since he beat Cowboy.
He doesn't have to finish anybody. There until he was pushed to be like this poster boy. He was supposed to be the grown man version of Conor McGregor. He was supposed to be the big boy with the big left. He couldn't capitalize on it. He got caught slipping against Masvidal. He got caught slipping against Tyron. But see that's what happens when you get pushed in those spotlights. I think that's what happened with Cannonier. This was probably the biggest fight of Cannonier's career, co-main eventing on the biggest card in history as far as pay-per-view and whatnot. And he just didn't look like he was ready for those lights more than anything. Not that he didn't fight his game plan. He just looked like kind of like a deer in headlights. Whittiker looked like the champion that he was. He's been here before. This dude's been fighting 5-round fights forever. So he's like, bro, I'm ready. I do this. like the lights, that's nothing. He's like, I've been fighting under these lights for a long time, young man. Yeah. So your chakras weren't aligned tonight. They wasn't ready for me. You didn't get those chakras lined up, so brother. You're gonna get tagged up and take one for the team. But like Cannonier, another dude popping around. What do you think about Rumble Johnson?
I'm just waiting for him to come on and say when he's going to fight, because I feel like he's the next person to come in and take that light heavyweight title and run with it for the next 5 years or so. I just don't see anybody in that division.
Rumble Johnson versus Izzy. Who you got?
Oh. Under the lights?
Yeah, under the lights.
I got to go with Rumble.
Woo.
He hits too hard, bro. I'm way too impressed. And he got that blitzing, overwhelming. How could Izzy really keep him off of him? If like you said, if we keep referencing the Gastelum fight this is where we saw him, right? So if Gastelum was pressing him and catching him, and Gastelum is known as a welterweight knockout dude, right? But he knocked out Michael Bisping, but I don't think he knocked out anybody else at middleweight. But we talking light heavyweight. Rumble, come on, bro. It doesn't matter if he got no gas. He's a Ferrari. It don't matter if he don't got no gas.
His game plan plays right. He plays right into Izzy's hands with his style, though. Izzy is a great counter fighter to where this is where Izzy is sitting back and waiting for those blitzes. Like Rumble Johnson is a better version of Costa, but that style, he's still in that bracket of this big, strong dude with power, but that's about it. And I think they seen it because I watched some clips of them sparring already as he brought him in as a John Jones clone when he was prepping for that fight. Yeah. And he already said, man, Izzy's tricky. You know what I mean? He was like, man, this little skinny dude was giving me trouble.
Yeah.
And Izzy has fought at all these weight classes. And I think people just see this skinny body. They forget this dude is 6'4".
Yeah.
Don't be fooled. These limbs can reach out and touch you, and it's always those ones you don't see. So, like those hooks that he's hitting everybody with, you don't see that coming. That's why it's putting you to sleep. You know what I'm saying? It's coming way out here. You don't see that coming. And Rumble Johnson style, I don't think he really wants to see Izzy. That's why
the reason why he beats Izzy though is because Izzy is a stand-up fighter. When have you seen Anthony Rumble Johnson lose to a stand-up fighter? And this goes to our Facebook user who says he quit against DC. DC took him down and choked him. Everybody that's beat Anthony Rumble Johnson, just like anybody who's beat Conor, takes him down and chokes him or submits him. If they stand up, there's a 95% chance the other person is going unconscious. That's just it. So if you ask me, if under the lights, belt on the line, all this shit, pay-per-view, who's going to win between Izzy and Anthony Rumble? I'm going with the guy who knocks people unconscious.
Izzy has answered this question, though. That's why Izzy wanted to fight the Romeros. He wants the Costas because these big, strong dudes are also slower dudes. Even though they're fast for how big they are, they're not as fast as he is. And that's the point. And that's all that matters when he's facing him. Anthony Rumble Johnson can be fast against all these other dudes, but you're not fast enough against me. And that's all that matters right now.
I just makes this beautiful.
I don't think he has.
Love to see that.
I don't think he has the tools to beat him. The dude who beats Izzy is going to be the first one to figure out how to take him on the ground and keep him there and neutralize his skill set.
That would be John Jones.
John Jones, yeah, possibly. I wouldn't doubt that, especially at a bigger weight class. But John Jones it doesn't always fight the most intelligent. That's why his fights have been closer than usual. Like he tries to beat you. His thing has always been he tried to beat you at what you were good at. That's why John Jones was so good, is because you hear these dudes like, oh, he's good at this. John Jones is like, oh, Rashad, you wrestle? Man, I was a D2, but I'll wrestle you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll go to these guys. Machida, oh, you want to stand with your karate? Like, man, I'll stand and fight you. Let's do this. You know what I mean? Let's see. He said John wins that fight. He's too big. Well, I want a side-by-side comparison because they're about the same height.
Yeah, about the same height. What is Adesanya's reach? Does anyone know his reach?
We'll have to look it up.
Because I believe John Jones' reach is about an 82. Maybe 85.
Let me see if I can get the
He has the longest reach, which is crazy because it's the weight. Nah. Well, because you got to consider this. You got to consider this. John Jones cut to 205, right? But he walks around about 235. Izzy probably walks around over 200 pounds. Easy. But cuts down to 185 for that weight class. But he probably, when he rehydrates, he's probably over close to or a little over 200 pounds.
Izzy fought at heavyweight in kickboxing and other.
Yeah. So he's not out of the realm of the weight. Wouldn't necessarily be an issue. It's the skills. Stand up wise, he's light years ahead of John Jones. Light years. And John thinks he's a good kickboxer. Because he's been able to outstrike a lot of these guys at 205. But a lot of these guys, just can't handle the mere physicality of a John Jones. He's tall, he's long. It's always hard to get in on somebody with long picogram.
If that's up in John Jones, then he has a great chance of winning.
Oh my God!
That's all I'm gonna say.
Hey, John, picograms, folks. I would like to reiterate that is a grain of salt. A grain of salt. That's a picogram. Okay, and he had the smallest amount. Okay, so it's like, come on, man.
Sprinkle me, man. Sprinkle me.
Oh,
you
God.
had too many picograms. You are hiding underneath the ring so you don't get tested. You're saying it's for a blunt. Stop lying, fool. You know you're on the most extravagant party drugs that heavyweight champions can afford. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody hiding from no blunt, man.
Oh, God.
And so you just smoked the blunt and came into training, and then they popped up on you. Like, nah, bro.
Hey, I will say.
Hey, but if Adesanya
If
he's on the picograms too, hey, let him fight. You know what I'm saying? Right. I think that's something that is not being talked about. That is something weird, bro. His titty looking like that. I'm not okay. I am to conspiracies, but they're not conspiracies. Like, I'm just into investigating the truth. What is wrong with your titty, my guy? Right before your fight, I'm not no doctor. I only stayed at Flight Lounge B&B, so I can't diagnose exactly what happened. But I know that is not normal by any means.
Hey,
not normal.
I think my man was stressed. You know, I think he was stressed. I think, you know, being in Abu Dhabi, the weather is different.
If humidity is different, then I'm going to say he's on some shit. If that's the best stuff we can come up with, man, I'm stressed too. You know what I'm saying? Come on now.
Oh man, hey, I'm just saying.
He's never had that in any of his fights. You're talking about a lean guy, where he's never, and we know that that little look is related to people who are doing certain things, and it's hardly from stress, my guy.
Hey, but even if he was on some type of enhancement shit, right? It would have to be in both of his titties. It would have to be in both titties. Nobody has a situation in one titty.
If he shot up on that side,
why would he shoot his chest and not his ass or his thigh or his stomach or something like that? You shooting your titty?
I'm not with the picogram team. I don't know how they doing it these days. You know.
Oh man, I don't know either. I'm just saying. You know,
Lance Armstrong was the probably consummate pro as far as
it's all natural.
Yeah, this is all stress. Come on. Come on, man. I'm just saying something funny is going on with both of them. So I can care less. That's the thing. If baseball, they allowed steroids, if everybody's on them, who cares? Well, pitch faster, that it helps them stay healthy longer. Isn't that what you're paying them to do? Don't you want them to be healthy so they can be out there and play and perform?
Right.
Isn't that the goal? But I just think
and fighting, we can't have that. But yes.
Pound for pound, I just think that we're talking right now 2 fights that could really close the argument on pound for pound greatest fighters. If we could see Izzy and John Jones go at it, and we could see Khabib and GSP go at it on the same card.
Whoa. You talking like 3 million pay-per-view buys?
UFC 300.
I ain't waiting that long. Shit.
A year and a half. That'd be like a year.
He just said 254. I ain't waiting for 300. Now UFC 257? Okay.
Nah.
257?
It has to be a magical number for these stars to align.
256 then.
It's not that magical.
It's not that magical.
No, I just think that the picograms hurts John Jones' argument for being the man. I think could be walked off. Like, that will never be dismissed. 29-0 is huge. Boxing, Mayweather has made a thing about having that 0, and it's prestigious. I think it's much harder to go undefeated in MMA than it is in boxing, because of all the ways that you could possibly lose in boxing, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just don't get outboxed. You know what I'm saying? The thing with MMA is you could be amazing and you get dropped, and all of a sudden you're getting choked out. Your arm is getting snatched off. You're in a leg lock. There's just so many ways to lose the fight that it's just like, even if you didn't really get beat up, you just got caught with one of your limbs out there and they snatched it off. Like,
or even a good punch,
but you got caught slipping. You know what I mean?
Or like even a good punch, because in UFC or MMA, you get knocked down, and the fight's over. You know what I'm saying? The referee jumps in a lot faster in mixed martial arts than they do in boxing. But I mean, I appreciate that, because I feel like
you get rocked and you get 10 seconds to recover. There is no recovery from getting rocked in the MMA, baby. You get rocked. You seen Walt Harris. Stop! There's no timeout, bro. I kicked you in your shoulder flex for a reason, just so you would do that, so I can finish this. It's over. Go home.
Yeah, man. But,
so I think there's something to be said about an undefeated record in MMA. Uber impressive. I'm not counting John Jones' loss. I'm not counting the one that's actually on his record as a no contest, but I did think he lost the Reyes fight, even unofficially. He's had some fights. The only fight for Khabib was the Alan Quinta fight. That was on short notice, and it was just ugly all the way around.
It wasn't his best performance, but the one that they criticized him about the most was Gleason Tebow. They say that he lost against him. I watched that fight. It is a toss-up. This is before Khabib became Khabib. And like I said prior to us coming on the air here, you know, I feel like Khabib didn't really come into his killer mode until after he won the belt. After he won the belt, then we see him choke out Dustin Poirier. We see him choke out Conor McGregor. We saw him choke out Justin Gaethje easy. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like he became a killer after he got his belt. But before that, you know, he beat up Edison Barbosa, but that was a decision. He submitted Michael Johnson. That was impressive. You know what I'm saying? But you know, he took out the real estate agent to a decision. So I mean, on a day, but yeah, like you said, that was a day's notice. It was a day's notice. So I mean, how much can you really, you know, he had no preparation for this, man. It was just a fight. It was just a fight.
And that's what I mean. It's not like it's boxing to where like, oh, this is his combos, but it's still just boxing. Like, who was he supposed to fight? Was that the Ferguson, one of the Ferguson ones?
That was Ferguson. Then it was Holloway.
You're training for Ferguson, and then you go to fight in Quinta that is nothing like Ferguson at all. Complete different style of fighter. You're going to be hesitant. Like, I got to be kind of careful because I didn't train for any of this shit. I don't really know his strengths and weaknesses. Like, I just know he's a dude trying to fight me. He knows what I do. Right. But I don't really know what he does.
Right.
You know? So his advantage, he don't have to train for me because he knows what I'm coming to do. He knows I'm going to try to take him down, and he don't. You train in the gym all the time not to get taken down. That's part of the training regimen. So that's always in everybody's back pocket. Whether you are good at it or not is a whole story. But everybody trains not to get taken down.
Right.
That's part of the MO. That's part of the training regimen that everybody is working on at all times. So my thing is, Khabib, like I said, hats off to you, man. That's one hell of a way to walk off and call it a career. And kudos to you, because a lot of people don't know how to do that, man. They hang on for so long. One of my favorite fighters of all time that really got me into the UFC, big time hardcore fan, BJ Penn. Ultimate legend to me, willing to fight anybody. He was the first dude. Like, I don't care. I'm 145. I'll fight you at 205. I'll fight you at heavyweight. I don't really care. I'm out for blood. I'm trying to choke you. I'm trying to knock your head off. Even though people know I'm here for jiu-jitsu, I'm bringing my hands and I'm going to try to punch you. Just like GSP, like, hey, bro, I know you want to take me down. I'm just going to punch you in your face, bro. Let's stand and trade. You don't want to go to the ground with me.
Right.
GSP, you don't want to go to the ground with me.
Well, He did take him down to the ground the second fight quite a few times.
Yeah, because
and he beat him up. He beat him up quite bad down there.
But this is like a dude that didn't train like they're training now.
Right.
BJ Penn wasn't from one of these top gyms. He's from BJ Penn's gym.
Yeah.
He's from his gym, like straight up. Like this was before the game and the training elevated to that next level. But for me, like I said, he's the one that really got me in it. Repping the Polynesians, the warrior spirit. Anybody can get it. Like we're here. We fight anybody, man. It doesn't really matter the size. Like, do you have the heart? Right. Like you could be Brock Lesnar size, but your heart probably ain't as big as mine. You know what I'm saying?
And the thing is that BJ Penn still to this day doesn't have that fear in his heart to fight anyone. But let's talk about that comment right there. Let's talk about this comment right here. His legacy is tarnished as long as he never fights Tony.
Tony who?
You sure?
Who?
You talking about the guy who just got knocked out by Justin Gaethje? You guys put to sleep in the last fight. That guy, Tony.
Yeah,
Tony.
He knocked him.
Don't get me wrong. I said earlier in the broadcast. Yeah, that's the one we're gonna miss out on. That's gonna be a forever could have, would have, but it didn't happen, and it was no fault of anybody's. To put it in perspective, Khabib pulled out of fights. Tony pulled out of fights. You know what I'm saying? And so, even with the fight island, a fucking global pandemic stopped this fight. I mean, what more can God say? But you motherfuckers aren't fighting. I
mean, it was fighting style wise, but I'm a huge Tony Ferguson fan. Don't get me wrong. West Coast, he represents. I'm all about that life. But what I will say is, after seeing how bad Justin Gaethje, just like I just talked about with Gastelum not looking the same since that Izzy fight, he hasn't looked the same since he's been there and took that beating. After you take a beating like that, you just don't come back the same dude. And I know this is not true right here. This is we're just going to give DP credit, even though he doesn't want to show his face behind these random comments because he knows they're hellacious. Seems afraid to fight him. Are we serious? Do we think, honestly, any of these guys are afraid to fight anybody? You have to understand their careers are on the line. This isn't just some tough guy competition. There's a strategy to get to the belt. And Khabib is not, like, with the calmest face that you can have, Khabib is like, oh, I'll smash him. Like, easy.
Tony, you're right. Tony does have a ground game. But like we said earlier in the broadcast, it was almost a guaranteed 99.9% chance that Tony was going to end up on his back. Now, what he was going to be able to do from his back was the whole thing in question. Were we going to see a Darce choke? Was he going to be able to get that triangle up? I believe only 2 times that I've seen Khabib threaten with a submission, he slipped out of them, and he got to the point where he's like, okay, I can sit here and beat you up for 25 minutes, or I can just get you out of here with a submission. I could choke you. I could take your arm like I did Michael Johnson and snatch it off your body. But at the end of the day, the reality is he was too strong, bro. He was too strong. There was no way that Tony Ferguson was going to be able to stop Khabib from taking him down. And he was banking on his whole time to beat Khabib with his jiu-jitsu. But how do you beat somebody that's punching you in the face? And see, that's the thing about jiu-jitsu. As great as a martial art as it is, if we're just doing jiu-jitsu and you have the superior skills, I believe if we talk a jiu-jitsu match, Tony Ferguson beats Khabib probably 9 out of 10 times. But if we're talking about a fight where I can punch you while you're trying to set up these submissions, that's a whole different ball game. And Tony has proven he doesn't have the greatest chin, several times.
We know that for a fact. And I'm pulling something up just for my guy, DP, so we could just shut this down real quick. Let's just click on something real quick and just watch. I fast forwarded to get into this fight. Let's just watch this for a second. Ooh, nice kick. He might do that on Khabib once.
They both have atrocious defense.
This look, they just too wild. Khabib is methodical, man.
Sloppy.
But look at that. Whoop. Now imagine Khabib doing that. He's not getting up. Watch this.
See now
He's
what
all over. See, that's where it's over. Right there. Done. Right there. Khabib in this position, it's a wrap. There's nothing to talk about. Done. Done. And this is happening in the first round if they get in a match. His heart has already been taken. Justin Gaethje took Ferguson's soul. You watched it. There was nobody in the arena. You seen him get knocked so silly, he didn't even know where he was. He like threw the flag himself. Like, I lost my nose. My whole soul is gone. What happened? El Kukui is no longer, the Knight Rider that he once was. Like, now he's on the Diaz brothers train. He's just the SoCal version of the Stockton Slap Boys. That's where he's going to fall in and get in. But go ahead, DP. Take a look at that picture, man. That's Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee's barely even ranked in the top 10, my guy. And you're telling me he's in Khabib's class as far as ground and pound? Squad, please. That's why this is an easy no for me. And it's an easy no for me because I like Tony Ferguson so much. I wouldn't even want him to go out and get embarrassed. He took that beating by Gaethje like a man. He stood there, took it. More power to him. But I don't want to see him go out and just get mobbed up by Khabib just because. Khabib has nothing to gain from it now because it was one thing when he's 12-0 or 12 straight wins, 13 straight wins, and he could take some wind out of those sails. But there's no wind in Ferguson's sails anymore. He's sitting at the port wondering what happened to him. He's shipwrecked at this point. Yeah. We're gonna cut that off. But I just wanted to pull up that quick little stream. We see you.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
I was all game for it. I've been a big proponent of this fight happening all 420 times. It was supposed to happen. But now I have to give mad respect to Khabib. After I just seen him destroy Gaethje like that with a broken foot, broken toe, come on, man. Like this one was injured too and made light work of you over a dude that you couldn't even, you uppercutted and almost had a chance beating. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to figure out how did he hide that? How did he hide any limping? We didn't notice that.
He is a machine. He's not on anybody's level. The only place I noticed it, but it didn't, you wouldn't notice it because fighters have their stuff taped up all the time. You know what I mean? But when he came in and he was wrestling around with DC in the lobby, you could see DC grabbed him and not like Chimaev when he wrestled with Chimaev. Chimaev was moving around with him. You seen when he grabbed Khabib didn't really move, and he said something to him, but he had that big old Darth Vader mask on, so you couldn't really read his lips. But he looked down at his feet, and he pointed to it, but it looked like he was talking about him wearing sandals.
That's what I thought he was talking about, yeah.
But to me, going back, it looks like he probably was like, hey, watch my foot, bro. Hey, all right, be easy. You know what I'm saying? Look at all these cameras. Don't be giving away tips trying to get me to move in here.
Right,
you know
right.
I mean? But the dude is walking around in sandals. He's walking slow and methodical. And, the amount of threshold of pain that these guys can take at this level is second to none. People talk about being a fighter and all that, but some of these leg kicks, you are going down like a tree in the forest. You're not standing there. If you're not checking these things, like those cannoneer kicks on Whittiker at the beginning,
oh, God.
2 kicks, you already seen the welt on this thing. These are real. Most fighters, most regular dudes, you're done. You're gonna just quit off that.
One of them.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm good, bro. Like, I was just kidding.
Yeah, you won.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to really fight you. Stop playing, man. Stop playing.
But yeah, man. Yeah, I think that was a great card. I enjoyed all the fights. A lot of knockouts. You know,
man,
a lot of knockouts.
Finishes. All of them went to finishes except for the Whittiker and Cannoneer fight. But everything was either a submission or a knockout. We gotta love that. That's why I think MMA is so much more entertaining than boxing, because those kind of results are you're expecting to see those up. When it goes to decision in MMA, you're kind of like, oh man, that was sucked. You know, you're kind of disappointed unless it was an all-out scrap and you can't tell who won. But if it goes to decision and it was dominated by one dude, you're kind of bored by it.
You're right, because the thing with boxing is, like, we'll get one main event that's the main card that everybody's tuning in to see, but when it comes to the undercard or even the co-main event for that matter, it's not relatively people that you are familiar with. Like, we're never going to see, like, just using their names for namesake, we're never going to see a Floyd Mayweather and like Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya fighting separate people on the same card. You know what I'm saying? You're never going to see that in boxing.
One main event.
You know, and so
Whittiker could have headlined their own card.
Could have headlined their own card. You know,
could be fighting for the belt in the future.
Right. You know, so yeah, you know, that is the A side with Uncle Dana and the UFC and those guys over there. They put on great cards that pull in the fans, and they deserve the numbers that they get, and they truly entertain us by putting on these great cards, and us as fans, we appreciate it. You know, I don't agree with your banner here that says I don't think boxing is what I don't think boxing.
Check out one of our sponsors, Flight Lounge. Go ahead and check this out.
Custom made for the baddest in the club. Pockets for girls still got a grudge. I'm sliding with my main thing.
I just left the club and I'm tipsy, so be on your way. I already know that you miss me, so you might as well stay.
Stay.
At 3 a.m. it's the party in my hotel. Baby, just me and you in my hotel. Music on loud while we go up in my hotel. Come do the thing that I like and I won't tell. I can't control myself. Tell me, can you blame me? I need you and no one else. Swing through, baby. I used to break you off. Why'd you take it off? Can you take it off? She gon' take it off. She love to make it clap. Round of applause. So she don't wanna go. That's an easy call. And I know that.
So that's Flight Lounge, Portland's premier cannabis brand. As far as this comes to social consumption, you know where to go. You could buy it on every corner, but you don't know where to start. Now you do. But let's talk about the question below, man. Is boxing boring? Since we were hitting on the subject, let's just go ahead and talk about it real quick. While we're beating around the bush, let's just really talk about how you really feel about the situation.
Boxing,
man. So this one, I know you got a extra little opinion about it. Let's hear it.
Most definitely. I feel like boxing is the oldest sport as far as combat. Unless we want to reach all the way back to like gladiator shit. You know, boxing is the original sport. It's like 100, almost 150 years old. You know, and with that, the title of heavyweight champion, the title of lightweight champion, the title of middleweight champion, they reach a little further back, because we can reach further back to guys who had great careers and did some amazing things in the sport of boxing. Now, even the welterweight, you got to mention welterweight because guys like Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley, and we can even go all the way back to guys like Sugar Ray Robinson. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, we had Sugar Ray Leonard. You know what I'm saying? I can go on, but I'm just saying, boxing is not a boring sport. Boxing has its issues because it is so old that we have a lot of corruption. We have too many titles, but at the same time, boxing is the premier dominant sport when it comes to combat.
Well, I'm glad that boxing has some support out here from our family out here in the Fight or Flight group. There is some great fights out there, but overall, let's be real, man. Let's be real. Boxing has fallen off. UFC, mixed martial arts, has slowly crept up and taken the mantle as the combat sport to watch. This is must-see TV. On boxing, yeah, I'll watch them for sure. But am I entertained? I was highly entertained by boxing when boxing was my only option. But now life has options, and guess what? I like the alternative.
Let me give you an analogy. Right, boxing is soccer. MMA is American football. Okay. Yes, MMA is worldwide.
Which one?
MMA is worldwide. But the predominant known sport or predominant more watched sport is boxing. That's why boxing is able to pay these motherfuckers 10, 20, 30 million, $40 million paydays. And MMA, you're lucky if you make $100,000. You know what I'm saying?
And so, they getting 20 million because they're putting JV fighters on the undercard. And one dude is taking home the bread of the whole thing. let's just be real. I'm a huge boxing fan, but I know it's like being a hip hop fan. You know how just sometimes things just start to change. Whether you want to be hip to it or not is up to you. You know what I'm saying? But the times are of changing, and it's either you change with them or you get left behind. Boxing is just one discipline in mixed martial arts. So I still get boxing. So every time these guys are standing on their feet, when I watch MMA, I still get to see my boxing. But I also get to see all these other disciplines too. And that is exciting. Like Mayweather, you're so great at these hands and parrying all these shots. But how about these head kicks? Do you see these ones coming? Nah, I don't think you're going. You're not ready.
That's what makes boxing entertaining to watch. When you see, and I hate when I hear these guys talk about Floyd as a runner and all this other shit. Look, Larry Merchant, nobody wants to sit here and watch Rock'em Sock'em. Okay, I actually enjoy seeing the head movement, seeing guys evade punches, make motherfuckers miss and counter, make them pay. You know what I'm saying? I love watching that shit. I hate to see some disorganized motherfuckers in MMA on the undercard usually that don't know how to box. They do all this pad work in the fucking promo for the fight and the clip showing me that these motherfuckers are the next fight up. They show me them hitting the pads, kicking the pads, punching the pads, and then they get in there and they sloppy. They have no defense. They don't use a jab. They wail in overhand fucking slugfest type shit. And I don't want to see that. I like to see, but yes, as a fight fan in a fight of MMA and boxing, I feel like I can live in both worlds. But if I'm
you got to choose one. You going with MMA or you going with boxing?
You got to choose one.
This is where it really holds its weight. If you really think boxing's that entertaining, come on, bro.
Boxing is entertaining. Like you telling me that fight I showed you with Berlanga wasn't entertaining? That was like less than a minute and some 20 seconds. That
wasn't no fight. How often does that really happen though?
But I didn't even know the dude when the fight came on. I'm waiting for the main event, and I've never heard of this person.
You like the fight because you're entertained. He knocked somebody out. UFC 254, knockout, choke, decision, close one, but it was almost a knockout. He dropped him, jumped on top of him, then he almost got rocked. That was the Whittiker Cannoneer. And then you had Khabib go down and finish this fool. Game over. I didn't need 12 boring rounds of these fools going tick for tat, 2 million feints, doing all this. We're past that, bro. We're past that now. We're past that.
And that's the prelims. Sadly, those are like watching the prelims. When you talk about those type of fights,
I'm gonna lead off with that. The Dana Kool-Aid. No, bro. MMA Kool-Aid. Boxing is one discipline in the realm of MMA. You still get that. That's why I love it, because I don't have to go MMA and I lose boxing. But if I go with boxing, I lose all these other disciplines. And when it comes to fighting, I want to know who the baddest is, not the baddest dude who could stand here and just throw hands. I want to see who the baddest dude standing here in front of me is, plain and simple. You use what you're good at, I'm going to use what I'm good at, and then that's how we know who really is the baddest dude walking the planet. Not like, oh, I can parry and I'm so good at dodging punches and you can't touch me. Like, nah, fool, because in a real street fight, I would have just kicked you and stomped your face out and we would have called it game. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened in the UFC.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
UFC.
You're right. Okay, if Stipe Miocic fought Anthony Joshua in boxing, Stipe would get fucking murdered. He wouldn't stand a chance, but he thinks his boxing is good and he has Golden Glove level boxing. So he thinks he's good standing up. But hold on, I'm gonna straddle the fence with you, bro. If Stipe Miocic and Anthony Joshua step into the octagon, Anthony Joshua wouldn't last 30 seconds. He's gonna get taken down. You get smashed out, kicked in the leg. Something's fucked up is gonna happen to him where he didn't even see it coming, and he's gonna lose. So the best fucking fighter in the world, heavyweight, the baddest man on the planet for real, is the UFC heavyweight champion. So why would I give you that? I'll give you that.
So why would I watch boxing when I want to see the baddest dudes fight?
Because I like seeing Anthony Joshua fucking ram his jab down somebody's throat, like he likes to say. That is very entertaining. That's entertaining.
The UFC is like watching NCAA. What? Madness basketball, maybe. You know what I'm saying?
Boxing is the NFL. Okay, yeah. Well, it's older. That's what I'm trying to say. That is exactly my point. It's older. It's more established. It's more established. It has a higher fan base. You know, yeah.
Bro, boxing is like Major League Baseball, which is hard to watch on TV, but it's great to go to live, highly entertaining, America's pastime. And the UFC is football, which is now America's sport. And what we all want to see is what it's really. NCAA, you're out of here with that comment. We're not even going to post anymore with like that. Where's the second one? Yeah. Boxing is harder than MMA.
It is, because there's more ways to win in MMA. There's more ways to win in MMA.
Train for more than just boxing. Boxing is having hands and cardio.
Now let's keep it real. Let's keep it real.
Fights
at the top of the show, we gave praise to Khabib. Khabib at one point in time was talking about boxing Floyd Mayweather. He would have been destroyed. Okay, it would have been no contest, no point in spending your.
Mayweather did a disservice to boxing by not finishing Conor McGregor in the first or second round, just to squash that beef as far as the crossover, because there's no argument about these dudes being in boxing coming over to the UFC. They never want to see that octagon because they know better.
My point.
All the UFC fighters, they are chomping at the bit to get in the boxing ring. You mean all I got to do is stand here? I go 3 little minute rounds, and the only thing the dude can hit me is in from my waist up, and I can guard, and that's the only thing with these big old gloves on.
Bro, these MMA fighters, these MMA fighters train and spar with professional boxers, and they get beat up. They get beat up. They get beat up in the boxing ring with these professional fighters. Vasily Lomachenko sparred with what's the little bantamweight dude that TJ Dillashaw, right? Just TJ didn't even look like he looked like an amateur. We talking about a UFC champion. Looked like an amateur in a boxing ring with a boxing 2-time Olympic gold medal winner. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
Yeah, but that's like lining up your cars and saying, "Hey, bro, you can't use that turbocharger on your car because we're just going straight up, man. You can't use all these other attributes that you got. You can only use this one skill set." I'm not saying boxing.
The cool thing is Lomachenko could have actually beat. He could have probably actually beat TJ Dillashaw. He used to do sambo, so he has some experience outside of just boxing.
But these guys do not want to get in the octagon. You do not see an influx of these amazing boxers like, you know what? I might just come in and knock everybody out. We seen these heavyweights try to show up and they got served like they were Nick Cannon on Drumline. Like, get out of here with that. Like, these guys do not want the business, man.
Bro,
did I watch Lomachenko fight for undisputed title? Yeah, I watched it. It was cool. I wasn't like, damn, I can't wait to rewatch that, or ooh, that was a fight that signed me up to watch again. But it was cool. It was cool. But I was bored. I got bored because after 6 rounds of seeing some shit, it was like, okay, you gonna do something? And then Lomachenko turned it on. And then I was like, okay, now I'm entertained. But come on, that was like 1/3 of the fight. The rest of it was boring. Because I was watching Lopez throw. He put a lot of volume, but he wasn't connecting. If you looked at Lomachenko after the fight, it looked like he came out of the spa. Like he just sweated a little bit. He don't even look like he got pumped.
Bro, Lomachenko's eye was swollen. Those was beat up, man. He had bruises on his face, all that. All those was for punches. The cuts and fucked up swollen shit on Lopez's face was from headbutts. But, you know, hey, look, we got a question on here. It says, are we talking about street fights or professional sports? See, so when we talking about, that's the thing with MMA, right? Because MMA is as close to a street fight as you're going to get.
Booyah! That's why it's more entertaining,
right? And so, yeah, we see who with no rules, and was Bruce Lee's whole thing. In a fight with no rules, who is the better fighter? When you're able to express yourself without limitations, who is the better fighter, right? And that's where MMA is great. That's where we see, you know, somebody like a Khabib, who his main strength was wrestling. His boxing, as much as they want to give him compliments on it, because we trained at the same gym for 7-8 years, that's great, DC. But the reality is his boxing and his head movement and his defense was atrocious, and he would have got murdered in a boxing ring. I'm sure if he did box spar with a lot of dudes in that gym, he probably got murdered and beat up a lot. And that's where he took his L's, was standing up. Now, if we talking sports, yeah, then we start talking, you know, we start talking about the GSP type MMA fights. We start talking about the Lopez versus Lomachenko fights. These fights where, you know, it's action, there's things going on, it's moving, but at the same time, you know, you got decisions.
I'm just all the way real. Like if I have to take a hard stance, I could sit here and I could play devil's advocate for boxing being entertaining. But now when we got options, not so much. What do we got here? If the fighters could make their own fights and promo like Floyd, there would be more money in the sport. Oh yeah, that goes back to UFC being bad for MMA. But bro, boxing it was rigged. We knew that. That's why boxing has suffered. It's rigged. Boxing has been getting over on us. We talked about D, you mentioned they put one major fight on the card, and the rest are like dudes you never even heard of. Like he just came out of the gym fresh off an 80-year-old amateur record. Like here he is. Like what? Like okay, bro.
Yeah.
You want me to buy the next fights? Show me the guys that are upcoming. So the UFC does a great job. The UFC is bad. Like it was cool when Pride, when they can come out and put on the spectacle, when they allowed Adesanya to come out and do his little dancing gig and all that. That was entertaining and stuff like that. The reason is they're trying to turn it into an actual sport so they can get respect. They don't, with the entertainment, the Pride part, it was a lot like WWE wrestling though, because it was like these guys have these characters, and maybe one day we'll get back to that where they could express a little more of their personality. But UFC is a brand, and it's about their brand at the end of the day being bigger than any of these fighters, because these fighters are going to come and go. As we've seen, Khabib can show up, go 29-0, be 32 years old in the prime of his fighting career, and just walk away. They still have fights that they got to put on. With or without these guys. So I understand their aspect of they got to protect their brand and do that. Can they pay these guys more? Of course they can. That's the corruption, and that's what Dana White brought over for boxing. He sold the company for what, $4 billion? Come on. Dana White has never stepped in one octagon and put any hands up to defend himself, and this dude has made more money than every UFC fighter put together in the history of the UFC. And I'm not knocking him for that, because what he does is very amazing. Like he's part of what makes MMA entertaining. Like he's a great ambassador for the sport. Love him or hate him, I think that's what makes him great. Some people love him, and some people. I'm not the biggest fan, but
as the promoter,
it's not the easiest job.
As the promoter and the president of the company, Dana's job, as much as as funny as that is, he hasn't put his hands up one time to throw a punch or anything, except when he tried to fight Tito Ortiz. He puts the show together. He books the venues. He puts the card. He has somebody that puts the card together. Everything is put in order by Dana White and his team. So we have to respect them and appreciate them for that.
But a lot of it is on the UFC, on the fighters themselves, though. These guys haven't band together to start their own fighters union to where they can demand better pay. They can demand health insurance and all these things. That's on the fighters. That's their business, and that's what they need to come together and do. That's not the UFC's job. The UFC's job is to go find workers and pay them what they feel is fair. And if the people didn't think it's fair, they wouldn't show up and fight.
Now what a strategy could possibly be that we haven't seen before is the lower tier fighters can band together, right? Because we always talk about, well, the big names aren't getting involved, and that's why we can't make what we want happen, because the guys like John Jones and the George St. Pierre's, they are making the $1 million. They Khabibs, they are making their millions of dollars per show. So they don't get too involved or have too much to say about fighter pay because they are comfortable with what they're getting paid. But these lower tier guys, that aren't getting the pay that they would like. What if they band together and you only had John Jones versus Izzy on the fucking card? Like that's the only fight because all the lower tier guys are on a strike right now.
No, I think we had this, but they try to hush these guys. When the Masvidal sits out, it's just like dudes undercutting. Like, what's the movie? The Replacements.
Yeah.
When dudes go on strike because we're trying to demand better pay, and then homeboy shows up and like, hey, I'll fight for that much though. Put me in, bro. You know what I'm saying? It ruins it for them, and that's why I said they're not unionized. They're not organized. The UFC is an organized business. The thing is, it's messed up. They don't pay the fighters more because they deserve it. Clearly, they're packing out the same arena as boxing does. They're putting up the same amount of pay-per-views, but that money's not getting kicked back. Part of it has to do with them putting on more quality fighters than boxing does. Like when you put on all these amateurs on one real main event, that can take all the money. Like when you got undercard guys making more money than some of the dudes in the main event, depending on what their contract looks like leading up to that. And like I said, these fighters have to stop undercutting each other become united and be like, the starting is minimum 50,000. Like, if we're going to call this a professional sport, like the minimum is give me 50. Some of these dudes are still fighting for $10,000 on 2 weeks notice and just hoping to win and catch on and get a chance. No, seriously though.
No, I feel what you say. I just caught this comment over here by one of our Facebook users. He says the only way to change fighter pay in the UFC is to watch Bellator. That's kind of fucked up, but hey,
is it though?
I think that
boxing doesn't do that.
Right.
Boxing doesn't do that. The thing is, you mentioned the problems with boxing for me. I'm not entertained with boxing because, one, they have too many damn belts. I can't even keep track of one division who the champion is, let alone all the divisions boxing has. And it's like you got 10 belts per division. You got 20 divisions. So you're saying we got 200 champions floating around here? Doesn't sound very exclusive category of winners. The UFC is quite easy. There's a handful of champions. 10 right. Champions, counting the women.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we know who you are because there's only a select few that can walk around with this strap. He just asked me if I watched the unification for the Lomachenko fight, but like you pointed out, that wasn't even the undisputed. There's still another dude with a belt out there. It's not even still the undisputed champ. So it's like, come on. That's the joke. The boxing, the technical, the skill aspect of it, very entertaining. But because it's so tarnished on the back end, when it goes to these decisions, which majority of boxing matches does, we know it's rigged. It's been rigged forever. You know what I mean? So it's just hard for me to be entertained by that.
Right. Yeah, I feel that, man. But to answer another one of our Facebook user questions, right? They asked, would you rather watch Adrian Broner or Khabib fight? Me, if you're asking me, now that depends. Are you asking me about watching Adrian Broner versus Antonio DeMarco? Or are you asking me to watch Adrian Broner versus Manny Pacquiao? Because I don't want to see Manny Pacquiao and Broner hug and do a block fest, okay? So if we talking about DeMarco, where it was like vicious hooks, uppercuts, and they both were like landing. DeMarco had the nice jab, but Adrian was too fast, too strong for him. Beautiful fight. I would love to watch that fight. But if you're asking me to compare Adrian Broner simply to Khabib, I gotta say I'd rather watch Adrian Broner, bro. I know you disagree with that, Jay, but I'd rather watch Adrian Broner than watch Khabib because Khabib, I'm not sure what I'm gonna see. Now, if I see the Khabib that chokes out the last few fights, like you guys are silly, okay. But if we talking about the Khabib that was fucking Gleason Tebow for 3 rounds, I don't want to see that.
You silly rabbits. Are you serious? I'm not watching Khabib just to go down and smash somebody. Khabib is legendary. I'm watching Khabib because he's greatness. I want to see that. The same reason I will tune in to watch Mayweather go 51-0 is because I'm watching greatness. Whether I like his style or not, I know as a fan of fighting, I'm watching greatness, and I want to see greatness do work. It's that simple. Broner does not go with greatness in the same sentence as far as fighting. Great fighter.
4-time world champion. 4-time world champion.
For sure. But let's walk outside and see how many people know who Adrian Broner is, though. Let's be honest. No, not just who he is. Let's see if they can even pick him out from a lineup. Let's just put some similar dudes that look like him in a lineup and see if anybody can even pick him out. Honestly, you like, damn, I probably couldn't even pick him out. No, that's what I'm saying. And how are you not able to identify this guy who doesn't wear no helmet, doesn't even wear a shirt? You should be able to pick this guy out very easy, and you can't. Broner is just not that dude. If you would have came with that question with a legitimate legend, Mayweather or Khabib, you might have had a different argument on your hands. But Adrian Broner, bro, stop showing how deeply you love boxing. For the casuals out here, they have no idea. They said, Adrian Broner? Get out of here, man. Get out of here. Khabib is a legend. I'll watch all his fights. It's just because it's the unknown. It's like, can anybody beat this guy? Can anybody do that? That's why I'm watching, not because I want to see him hog tie everybody up and just smash them on the ground. Well, yeah, I do want to watch that. I'll be honest. I do get kicks out of that.
But the difference between those two fighters, bro, is Adrian Broner was willing to take chances. The first time you seen him lose and get his ass whooped, he went up 2 weight classes. Okay? Khabib has never went up a weight class, never even tried, talked about it, nothing. I want to be undisputed lightweight champion, undefeated lightweight.
Bro,
he doesn't want to move.
You're beating everybody that's at 145 and above, and everybody 170 down. How many boxing weight classes are in those? How many different? How many weight classes are in there? So he is fighting bigger dudes all the time. Stop it with that. Stop it with that. Moving up 2 weight classes. So what is that? 2 weight classes? 6 pounds?
So who accomplished more?
Here we go up 6 pounds.
The
whole weight class for him to go up is 15 pounds, my guy.
Bro,
you know what I'm saying?
Bro. But that's the baddest motherfucker on the planet, best fighter, all that GOAT. How many belts does he have?
Bro, what do they say? The casuals don't want to watch Khabib; they want to watch Conor.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly my point I was about to make. Conor has 2 belts, 2 different weight classes. It fights in a 3rd weight class. He's not scared to fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. He lives by that. Okay, he'll get choked out. Doesn't fucking matter. He's still coming with that same energy the next time. Khabib is he afraid to lose?
Yeah, but that's not anything though. Because if you put Conor against any boxer today, I'm probably gonna take Conor McGregor because that's the real question. MMA versus boxing. Would you rather see Conor McGregor fight, or would you rather see so and so fill in the blank boxing fight? That's the real question. Conor wins that one too. So another point for the MMA guys.
Oh shit.
We appreciate you, DP. Tuning in. We love all the comments, man. Very well on some things. We'll give you that. But next time, man, make sure that you accept the little request so you can get your picture next to some of these crazy things you're posting up here. I know a lot of it, you want to stay anonymous with some of these crazy things you're talking about.
Yeah, we want to see your face. We want to see your name. We want you to get your recognition and get recognized for your comments. And we appreciate you guys, giving us your comments and engaging. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe at Fight or Flight PDX on YouTube. Stay engaged and support the channel, y'all.